Hi, welcome to our webinar today. It's November 1st, and we're going to be presenting on Business Central and key benefits of a modern ERP system. What we're going to be talking about today is Dynamics 365 Business Central from Microsoft. Business Central, often referred to as BC, is what's referred to as an SMB ERP solution. The SME stands for small, medium-sized business. It's a fully functional and very complete solution for small to medium-sized companies, defined as anywhere from 20 million in revenue up to as much as $500 million in revenue. We're going to wait to see if a couple more people join, and then we'll be starting the the presentation, the webinar. We do have a chat. If anyone has any questions, either now, during, or at the end of the webinar, feel free to drop your questions inside the chat. We'd be happy to answer those at any point during the call. We do have a bit of hopefully a pleasant surprise for you guys today. I'm going to really go out on the deep end today and actually do some demos of this system while we're going through some of the key functionality. I'm not just going to be showing a PowerPoint presentation, so hopefully you'll actually get a feeling or a sense of how Business Central works, how to navigate, and some of the hands-on functionality that you would be using if you were to implement this system. Okay, we're 3 minutes in. Let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Victor Diercksen. I'm the practice manager for Dynamics 365 Business Central from Microsoft. I'm here at Synoptic. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to give you a few key points to help you identify if you've outgrown your existing ERP system. Some of the key benefits of Dynamics 365 Business Central for your small or medium-sized business. Some of the ways that a fully integrated ERP system can help you make smarter decisions, and then what the potential next step would be if you're interested in hearing more or finding out more about Synoptic and how we can implement it, Business Central, and how it would fit your particular company. Already went through this. Victor Diercksen, nice to meet you today. So here's a brief overview of Synoptic. We are a global IT services provider. We like to say that we're the big company that targets small to medium-sized businesses around the world. We do a full range of IT solutions for any size company, depending on your needs. Anywhere from if you wanted to outsource desktop support, if you wanted assistance managing your network, if you wanted to do a security audit, if you want to migrate to Office 365 or Teams, as well as the full business software suite. So Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations, which is our enterprise ERP solution, Business Central, which I said is the SMB solution, and then we also service Dynamics Customer Engagement, known as CE, which is the Microsoft CRM solution, as well as Power BI, Power Automate, and some of the other Power X tools from Microsoft, which I'm going to be talking about briefly here in just a few minutes. We like to bill ourselves as the last IT partner you'll ever need because we can do pretty much anything you need to the level and to your budget that is what you would need them. So if you're interested in any of these services, please feel free to let us know. So how do you know if you're outgrowing your existing accounting system? Well, if any of these bubbles apply to you or your business, you probably need to start looking at a new ERP system. In addition to all of this, you mentioned duplicate data, manual processes, siloed systems. Under that siloed systems, one of the key things I like to mention is Microsoft Excel. If you use a lot of Microsoft Excel spreadsheets in your business, you could definitely benefit from a more modern integrated ERP system, right? I often jokingly say that Microsoft Excel is the most commonly used ERP system around the world. Unfortunately, while it's kind of funny, it's also very true. And a lot of companies are struggling because of that. I see companies every day who use their ERP system almost for accounting and very little else, and do almost everything outside of accounting on an Excel spreadsheet. And often what I hear is nobody knows what's going on. When is a PO going to arrive? When is a production order going to ship? What does our products cost? It's hard to answer those questions without pulling in 5 people and 7 different spreadsheets, which you then have to merge into one. If that applies to you, you need to seriously think about getting a more modern ERP system. Business Central would be a great fit for you. So, what are the benefits of a single integrated solution like Business Central? Well, the thing is, Business Central is designed to cover just about every part of your business, right? So, everywhere from accounting to sales to purchasing, inventory. If you do manufacturing, it has a full manufacturing, very sophisticated functionality for manufacturing, as well as service management. If you're in a service business or you provide after sales service for the products that you make, all of these are integrated in one seamless solution, all of it designed to work together from the top to the bottom, inside and out, right? So you don't have to like integrate data from one system to the other. You don't have to copy data, flat files or APIs, none of that. Everything is integrated in one system and all designed to work seamlessly together. Now, depending on your particular business, you may have people that want to use different form factors these days, right? So traditionally, the ERP system was always on a PC, right? At a desk, on a computer with a monitor, right? Well, those days are long behind us. And with Microsoft Business Central, Dynamics 365 Business Central, you can actually design screens to lay out to different form factors. So I'm going to jump over and actually show you what that looks like. And I've taken the liberty of have my system set up ahead of time so that you can see what this looks like. So if you were to log into Business Central, like our customers that are live that are using Business Central right now every day, you have one single login for all of your employees, no matter where they are in the world. So there's no software to install, there's no servers to set up, there's no applications to install on the local computer. Once you're set up with a user account for Business Central, you have this one single URL that you can access from any browser from anywhere in the world. And then you come down here and click on the sign on screen, and then it verifies your identity against your company email address and password. And then from there, boom, it logs you into Business Central. And this is what the Business Central screen looks like. This is the main splash screen. Now, this is a role, and there's multiple role centers that we can set up depending on your particular role within the company. Everything is easy to adjust or change to your particular business's needs. But what I wanted to show you here is the different form factors. So I'm going to go into what's called the design mode. And this is the design mode for Business Central. This is something that you guys can do yourself. You as the end user, if you want to go in and modify a few fields, change the layout, add a field, take something out, you can do that all very easily here. So you notice, let's say, for example, I don't care who the contact is when I'm looking at my list of customers because I'm in this design mode. I can actually hide that field. But now let's say, for example, I say, oh, maybe I want to add something that's still working. There we go. Maybe I want to add that field back in, or I want to bring in something else. Maybe, what I'm showing right now is customer name. Maybe I want to use or see what name two is. I can add that very easily to the screen. And there it is. And I apologize. This is a little slower because I'm presenting. It takes up a lot of bandwidth on my home DSL line. This is usually a lot faster in an actual production environment at a customer's. But let's say, for example, now you're looking at the individual customer, and I bring up the individual customer screen. This is what the screen would look like on your individual computer, like a PC or whatever it is that you're using. Now you notice I'm still in design mode. I could still rearrange things, hide things, add fields. But what I wanted to show you here is up here at the top right corner. So you notice right now I'm in desktop view. So if I log on to Business Central from a desktop, this is what the view is going to look like. And I can change this view, rearrange fields on this particular page for the desktop view separately from what it would look like if I was to log on from a tablet. And this now is what the tablet view looks like if you were to log on to Business Central. Now, again, I can move fields around, take things off, add fields kind of as I need to for the tablet view, which will be different from the desktop view. So, for example, a lot of times you may have a salesperson out in the field who wants to log in and look at information about a customer. They may not necessarily care about a lot of the more detailed accounting or shipping information. Maybe they just want to see high level customer and balance information. You can modify this screen so that from a tablet they only see in the field what they need. Now, again, we have a third view, which is the phone view. And so, a salesperson out in the field might log on from their phone, want to see what a customer balance is, if they're behind, or what their credit limit is. And again, you can modify the view from the phone so it's different from the desktop or the tablet, so that somebody out in the field who's logging into the customer record on their phone would only have those particular fields that you would need, because the phone obviously is pretty small, very little real estate to work with there. You might want to really clean up that screen and limit what they see so they don't get overwhelmed with too much information. So each of those form factors can be managed separately. And again, this is something that you have access to with just a standard license, where you as the customer can modify these and rearrange things the way you need to if you wanted to. Again, we at Synoptic can also help you with that as well. If you prefer to have our team manage those or set up those screens for you, we're happy to do that as well. Okay, let's go back to our slides. Okay, so that was the demo. Now moving on to the next one. Now, one of the other key benefits of Business Central is because it's operating inside of the Microsoft Azure cloud environment, is it is fully integrated with all of the Microsoft Azure products, business software in particular, one of which is a tool called Power Automate. Now, Power Automate is a workflow tool that can be used to build very complex workflows. So if you have a business process, for example, let's say you're a medical device manufacturing company or a food manufacturing company, and you're very sensitive about the creation of your inventory items and the bombs and the routings. It's very important that you make sure that those are standard, those are correct. Maybe you have some regulatory requirements on reporting to what the bombs are and what those bomb changes are. So you may want to do a full engineering change order process if you create or change items, bombs, or routings. The way we would typically handle that is by using Power Automate. So this is what Power Automate looks like. Now I'm actually going to jump over to, again, to my screen and show you what that actually looks like. Now, Power Automate is designed to be what they call a no-code solution from Microsoft, where everything's graphical. Now, this may be kind of hard to see, but I wanted to scan this out a little bit so you can get a full sense of a particular workflow. This in general, this one here in particular, is the purchase order approval workflow. So up at the top, at the start of my workflow, is you say inside of Business Central, I want to send a purchase order for approval. So here you can see when a purchase document approval is requested. So within Business Central, if you were looking at a purchase order, there's a menu to say request approval. And this particular workflow is designed to look at the organizational structure that you have set up in Active Directory. So one of the things you can do is say, for me as the end user, if I send this purchase order for approval, go look in Active Directory, see who my manager is, and send the approval to that person. Now you can build more sophisticated rules into that to say, well, if it's under 25,000, send it to my manager. If it's over 25,000 and less than 100,000, send it to my manager and his or her manager for approval. And then if it's over 100,000, send it to the CFO or the CEO for approval. You can build all kinds of rules like that. This particular workflow doesn't have all that, but you could do that. And we have a whole team of people who specialize in Power Automate that could build the workflow to be as simple or as complex as you want it. Or again, this is designed to be a no code solution, meaning for you as the end user at your company, you could actually go in and build and modify these workflows over time, publish them, and then have those effective inside of Business Central. It's really kind of up to you if you want to manage that yourself or have us at Synoptic manage that for you. Now you notice here each box is a different step in the workflow. And then we get down here to a decision tree. So you can see if the approval request is accepted, it says of yes, then it follows one course of action, which is to release the purchase order for you to send out to your vendor. And then if no, then there's a different decision tree that the system will follow based on whatever rules you want to set up, meaning probably bounce back to the user with a comment to say why it was rejected and what you need to fix so that you can send another approval request. Now, all of these approval requests are logged. So again, if you're in an industry that is highly regulated or very sensitive to changes and you want to be able to track exactly what was changed on an item or a bomb, who did what and when, there is a full log behind each of these approval requests. So let's say on a production bomb, if you were to create a new version of the bomb, you send it for approval and that gets certified. It says who created the bomb, who sent it for approval, who approved it, and what day and what time. So you have that full record for traceability. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. Okay, next slide. Now, end-to-end view of your business, and this could mean a lot of different things. Definitely everything inside of Business Central is designed to be integrated. So anywhere from within BC, you can trace transactions backwards and forwards to see what generated that transaction or that entry. Where did it end up? What kind of GL entries did it create? But all of this information inside of Business Central is easily available from multiple reporting platforms, one of which is called Power BI. And Power BI, as you can see here from a sales order, we have availability information that can be presented to you either inside of Business Central, inside of Power BI, or from a dashboard. And the dashboard either could be inside of Business Central itself, or it could be as a standalone dashboard just within Power BI, right? So for example, if you have a manager or an executive who gets into Business Central and is using Business Central on a regular basis and wants some high level dashboard information available right there in BC, we can provide that. We can embed those into those reports. If, however, you have an executive who doesn't go into Business Central and you don't want to have to pay a license for them each month, you can actually build a dashboard that they can access directly from Power BI where they can get all that information without using a Power BI or a Business Central license. Now, what I want to show you here, so I'm going to go back into Business Central. And so now here's my main splash screen for Business Central again. And you notice down here, I actually have a Power BI report. So this business performance, top 5 customers by sales value. And you notice this is interactive. So every time I put my cursor over one of the sections, it tells me who the customer was and what their sales were. And if I click on one of these, and I'm kind of going off on there it goes. It actually takes me to that customer card. So I can immediately see that customer and drill down on some of their history. Now, one of the things I want to mention here is I actually have multiple charts and reports available, right? So let's say, for example, instead of seeing top 5 customers by sale value, maybe I want to see income and expenses. Or maybe, for example, instead of that one, maybe I want to see my cash flow. And it looks like I've had pretty decent cash flow, but I've had a couple kind of tough months here. But as you can see, it's not just one splash or one report that we show on your home screen. We can actually embed multiple that people can choose or change from over, as they're using Business Central. We can also embed these on individual pages. For example, we could create a Power BI report that's on the customer card itself that would show maybe a graph with a trend over time of purchases or margin for that particular customer to see if that particular account is growing or declining in revenue or margin over time. Really, the sky's the limit. Whatever your imagination is, we can build that either, like I said, as a standalone report in Power BI that pulls data out of Business Central or as a dashboard inside of BC itself. Okay, so let's go back to my slides. The other thing I like to mention is Business Central was originally called Navision, or it as Dynamics Nav in the early 2000s when Microsoft bought it, and then was rebranded again when Microsoft moved it to the SaaS environment. Um, the original version of the software was designed to be easy to modify. And one of the things that's happened over time, kind of like you think about like Microsoft Windows, for example, where Microsoft creates a platform and then provides the source code for people to build applications to run inside of that platform or that operating system. Business Central itself was designed to be easy to modify. And so over the years, over the last 30 years that the product has been around, there's been a whole ecosystem of third-party solutions that have been designed to run inside of Business Central. You can access these from the Microsoft Marketplace. It's an app store. It's very similar to the app store, like what you would download an app for your phone off of your Apple or Android phone. If you wanted to install something on your phone, you can go in and search these. You can click on them and you can install them directly into Business Central. Now, we always advise people to do this carefully, of course, do it in a dev environment first and test it. But long story short, it's very easy to get access to all these extensions. Some of the extensions that we've used over the years that have been very popular, for example, is a very sophisticated solution that would allow you to do wireless scanning inside of your warehouse, right? For receiving, shipping, with shipping integration with your shipping partners, as well as say picks, putaways, and movements inside of your warehouse. There's an extension that can do all of that from a handheld device that will post transactions real time inside of Business Central. So no more paper out in your warehouse. Everything is posted real time. If you look at a bin or a location in your warehouse, you can see real time what's the quantity of an item in that bin. And can also track it all the way down to serial or lot number. So if you're tagging items correctly, you can scan the item and the lot or the item and the serial number, so you can have a detailed inventory tracking with just a simple scan from a handheld device and no paper involved. Similar solutions like that apply to production. So we have production software that you can install that again can run on a scanner or tablet out on your production floor to do real-time labor tracking, time tracking, consumption and output, as well as some other solutions that have been very popular over the years. For example, there's actually several add-on solutions or extensions for the food industry, for food processing companies. So if you have some unique needs and you really like the really sophisticated lot tracking inside of Business Central, we have an extension specifically designed for the food industry that will help you manage your batches, track your ingredients, and the QA testing of those food products as they come off the line. There's now thousands of these available out there, right? So if you think about Business Central as being the suit that you buy off the rack, and then the tailor adjusts the sleeves and the legs, it's kind of an appropriate um, example of what it's like working with Business Central. You buy that core product, you can buy an off-the-shelf extension, or you can have somebody like Synoptic modify it to meet your particular needs so that you get the benefits and the low cost and high functionality of a system that comes off the shelf, and yet it's tailored to your particular business model, and business needs. I like to say, and I know this is probably sounds a little cliche, but if you implement Business Central correctly, and I've had this happen before, the solution could, over the long term, become a competitive advantage for your business to provide cheaper, faster, better products, better customer service for your customers. I have seen that happen, and I can give you specific examples where I've done that for customers in the past. Now, part of a great ERP system is, how do you implement it, right? Because you could have the best tool in the world, but if you don't implement it properly, you're never going to get that value out of the system, right? And so I always say, if you're going to buy Business Central, the most important choice is really, who's your partner going to be. Now, I like to say Synoptic is a great partner, but even if you go with somebody else, make sure you're careful about who you select and ask them about their project management methodology, right? Um, the most important part, and we have a very detailed methodology that we follow, and has been very successful for us with our clients, but it always starts with what's called the discovery phase, right? Discovery phase is where we sit down with you and really understand your business requirements. Unfortunate reality is there's a lot of consulting companies out there that skip that step or don't understand the value of that to providing a quality solution for their customers. So that can be a real differentiator for you to help identify, are you working with somebody who actually knows how to implement the system successfully and make it work for you on time and on budget every single time. That's our goal, and we have a very high success rate at accomplishing that with our customers. So something to think about when you're looking at a new ERP system and an ERP implementation provider. Okay, next steps. If you think that you're in the need for a new ERP system and you'd like to know more, feel free to let us know. We're happy to sit down for a free consultation, 1 or 2 hours, talk about your business, understand your needs a little bit better, and how Business Central could potentially fit for you and your industry. I myself personally have been working with Business Central in its different versions for over 20 years. Had over 100 implementations on industries ranging all the way from food processing to heavy manufacturing to boat manufacturing to distributors to retail outlets, you name it. There's very few that I haven't actually worked with. I probably have experience, and my team of consultants behind me have experience in your industry. We could help understand your needs very quickly. All right. So that's my presentation. I know it was originally scheduled for an hour, but I like to keep it short. I don't want to fill it with a lot of information that you may not find useful. So that was my presentation. It was about 30 minutes long. I hope you enjoyed that. And oh, it looks like we already have a couple questions. Okay. So somebody is asking if we start small with accounting or accounting and inventory, how hard is it to add other areas later, say fixed assets? Oh, so this actually happens a lot. Um, when I first started doing ERP implementations about 25 years ago, it was very common at that time that you went live with everything right up front, right? What's called kind of the big bang. And over the years, what we found is as the complexity and the functionality of these systems has grown, it gets to where it's almost too much to bite off at once, right? You don't try to boil the ocean, right? Because you're just going to end up being frustrated and never get anywhere. So what we find is doing a multi-phased approach actually makes a lot of sense, right? So if at all possible, where possible, we try to go live with just the same level of functionality as what you have in your existing system, right? So let's say you have accounting and inventory in your current ERP system, but not manufacturing, for example. This is very common what we find. Maybe manufacturing is done in spreadsheets or it's done in a separate third-party system. So what we would do is say, let's bite this off into smaller chunks. Let's just go live with accounting and inventory inside of Business Central. So purchasing, sales, inventory management. Do that as a phase one. After we get that up and live, now you're stable on the system. Your team already is familiar with the system, how it works. You're using it every day. Now we do a phase two, and then we roll in manufacturing as an additional add-on solution. And I've had clients, like really large clients, where they're coming off of a small accounting package with a lot of Excel spreadsheets or separate systems for different parts of the business, where we could have multiple phases, 5 or 6, that could last over 2 or 3 years. And so each year we just take a different objective of adding more functionality to the system. Makes it a lot easier to manage, a lot easier to implement, and we can make sure that each team, as they're implemented, are stable before we move on to the next level of functionality. So Business Central is extremely flexible from that perspective. You can start using things, stop using things. It's almost too flexible. Sometimes I like to say it lets you do things maybe you shouldn't, but that's another story. Okay. Oh, looks like we have another question. Excellent. Do we need to have a server in our offices to run Business Central? So no, as I mentioned before, with the SaaS environment, once you buy a license and you have a license issued to you in your Office 365 account, we can then provision an environment. And so everything that you need to run Business Central is included in that license, and the minimum is 3 licenses per company per environment, right? So once you have those 3 licenses, you can provision an environment, log in, start doing some setups, and start testing it. But there's absolutely no software to install. Everything is accessed from a browser, and most of the backend architecture, like the servers, networking, and all that, is all managed by Microsoft. Your data will be held in at least 2 different data centers at 2 different places within each of those data centers. So you have your data will be stored in 4 different areas for redundancy. And if there was ever a problem, you can go back to multiple times in history and do a restore from a prior version. So the backups are also included as part of that per user per monthly fee. So it's all included in one package. Let's see. Oh, looks like we have another question. Awesome. Okay. Are there any issues with remote offices accessing Business Central? How do we share BC with employees who work from home? Well, so that's a great question. This is actually something that comes up all the time. We have a lot of clients that do light manufacturing and distribution where their product is manufactured in China, for example, or someplace else overseas. Um, because you just log in through a browser, anybody with an internet connection or an internet account can access Business Central. So like I was showing you before with that main login screen with the sign in button, you as an employee could be anywhere in the world, literally anywhere in the world that has internet connection. You can log in and access Business Central, access all the data, and then based on your security, you'll have access to whatever you've been set up for and be able to do your work. So we have this happen all the time, actually. People in remote offices overseas, people working from home. Um, there really is no difference between working from home than working in an office, except maybe in the office you might have a slightly faster internet connection. But even then, the amount of data transfer is so light between your local browser and the server that it's pretty rare that people see any kind of performance issues. I only see some when I'm presenting, because trying to present on an online meeting like this takes up a lot of bandwidth, and so that will slow down Business Central. But if I'm working on it independently, it's very fast, very great performance. So, okay, let's see. Oh, one last question before we sign off. How much is storage, hard drive space? Okay, so the storage is actually included with your monthly license fee, and you start off with the base amount of storage, and then Microsoft it adds additional storage for each user that you add to the system. So the more users you have, the more storage you have. Again, all of that storage is included with your monthly license fee. So you don't have to worry about hard drives. You don't have to worry about managing storage space. All of that is included. And again, like I said, there are backups that occur automatically. So if you ever have a problem and you wanted to restore from a prior like date time point in time, all of that is included as well for disaster recovery. Um, People find actually, so one of the things that I like to say is with these new SaaS environments, disaster recovery is essentially included in the license, right? So your operating production system and your disaster recovery system are essentially the same, right? Because Microsoft, like I said, will keep your data in two geographically diverse data centers, right? So let's say you're working from home, you live in Southern California, there's a huge earthquake, everything gets knocked out. you know, Once your internet comes up, you're going to be able to log into Business Central because Microsoft is going to make sure that that data is available from two geographically diverse areas. So, for example, if their center was in California that got hit, it's automatically going to bounce over to the mirror site that's potentially on the East Coast, let's say. So, when you log into Business Central, it's all there, running from the East Coast. You won't even notice the difference. The only problems you would potentially have, like I said, is getting internet connection to your office so that people connect. But most of the time, the retail, people's homes connections stay up during a lot of these disasters if the office goes down. So you can move people around if you need to, so they can access the system. So anyway, all right. So it looks like that's what we have for questions. And thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you all coming and hearing about Business Central. And again, if you're interested in hearing more or would like to talk about how the system could potentially work for your business, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk and answer any questions you might have. So thank you. Have a nice day.